Whoa, definitely wrote that wrong. Hold on.
And that's the first thing you hear on the live stream. Congratulations, Roger.
Is that really the first thing you hear?
It might be.
Yep.
We are live,
Ready?
so.
Awesome. All right. On today's 4th episode beta of Nintendo Dads, hey, a little game called Smash Brothers dropped. Pokemon's new. We've got a special guest going to talk a little bit about that. Amiibo, what's our impressions? Those little toys. Oh, and by the way, happy birthday, DS. You're 10. Roll the music.
Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Nintendo Dads Beta Episode number 4. My name is Zach Erickson, and joining me tonight for some Nintendo discussion is first Justin Masson. How you doing tonight, Justin?
I am doing well, sir.
Awesome. Next, we have Jesse Waldak. How are you doing, Jesse?
Greetings. I am well, and I just finished being I was in the kitchen for about 4 hours making some pies to prepare for Thanksgiving tomorrow, and this kitchen is still a mess. And I decided, that can wait. I'll come down here and do a show.
Very nice.
Sounds
awesome.
good.
And joining us tonight, special guest. You know him as RogersBase on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter, everywhere else.
Yeah.
Roger DeLuigi, RogersBase. How you doing tonight, Roger?
I'm doing wonderful, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm not a dad, though, so I feel like weird guesting on a show called Nintendo Dads.
No, it's okay.
Well, we'll give you some insight for when you become a dad. What you
exactly.
Can do.
One day I will
give
be
you lessons on how you can become a dad, but we'll save that for a different show altogether.
That's the advantage of being a subject matter expert on at least 3 of the topics we're talking about today. You don't have to be.
There we go.
No, absolutely. Perfect. I think moving forward, it's definitely, if you ever become a dad, then you can be maybe a regular, weekly whatever host. But
there we go.
Hopefully
not for like at least 5 years. At least.
At least.
There you go.
So,
At least 9 months.
At least 9 months. Oh my God! Please do not joke.
No. Very cool. So big week happened this week. Let's jump right into it. One week we'll have bumpers. I promise. It's still beta, folks. What are we gonna do when we are no longer beta and we don't have that excuse anymore? I don't know.
We'll just call it your fault.
I concur.
Nice. So this week, essentially, we have, Nintendo Day was on November 21st, which was last Friday. Smash Brothers, Amiibo, Pokemon all came out, and I think we're probably going to just spend a big chunk of tonight just kind of breaking it down and talking about it. So let's start with, which one should we start with here? We hadn't really discussed that beforehand. Let's start with Pokemon, actually.
Okay.
Cool. And now, who here has it? I didn't pick it up. I was in a situation where, Roger, I know you've played it.
Yep.
You've been a madman releasing your videos, like
man.
crazy.
Yeah, that let's play has been like 2 to 3 videos per day, since the game came out. So like for the past week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty nuts. So, very cool. Anybody else? Jesse, did you pick it up?
I did not, and I probably won't for myself because I never really got into XY. I got to the second or third gym, whatever the one was, the drudge. It took 5 hours to get there, and then I pretty much stopped playing. Though I know 2 out of my 3, if not all 3 of my kids want it, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Right on. Cool. So Roger, you're the only.
And.
Oh.
Welcome to the
Roger, you're the only one that's actually played it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was Google doing the Skype impression.
Oh, was that me? Was I moving out there? Okay.
That was you.
Yeah, that was you.
My bad.
You went to the Shadow Realm for a moment. Yeah.
Seriously. Okay.
Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
So Roger, what are your impressions so far of the game? Like.
7.8 out of 10. Too much water. That's my impression of the game. right there. Too much water, 7.8 out of 10. No, I mean, I'm loving it. I think, for me, Hoenn has always been a really special region of Pokemon. Because it was the one region of Pokemon where all of my friends were not playing it. It was the first one I grew up with where all my friends weren't playing it. So Red and Blue, huge fad, blew up. Everybody in my elementary school was playing it. Gold and Silver, you know, it was still kind of on the up and up, so everyone played Gold and Silver. And then when Ruby and Sapphire first came out, I was like 13, and it was kind of like no longer cool to play Pokemon, but I still adored the game, and it was sort of my little escape because I was going through a lot of like personal issues with family who was sick, and they were just dealing with a whole bunch of things. And so Hoenn became my escape for a long time. And I actually talked about this previously on another podcast that I was on during the Pokemon World Tournaments. But long story short, my grandmother had cervical cancer, and she was dying of cervical cancer at the time when Ruby and Sapphire first came out. And so when I was sitting like at the doctor's appointments with her and my mother, and we were taking her back and forth to go to her chemotherapy, I'd be sitting in the main room playing Pokemon Ruby, and you'd think like, well, that's not necessarily a good memory. Why would you have such nostalgia for it? But I don't know, like it just brings me back to this like very simple emotional time. And so every time I hear like the Route 113 music where the ash is falling and there's like the Spindas and the Skarmories, I don't know, something comes over me. And so Hoenn's super special for me, and seeing it in 3D for the first time has just been amazing. I'm loving it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. No, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, of course.
I kind of had a similar. It's interesting because I think for a lot of people, not to completely crap all over your story, because I think I just have a different experience with.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I remember with the original ones, for me, it was almost like it was at a different sort of time in my life where Pokemon Blue came out when I was in like grade 7-ish. And so I was like, yes, awesome, you know, like it was very much I was target demographic. And then Gold and Silver and Crystal came out, and I was like, you know, it was like I was like that nerdy kid in school who isn't like as grown up as he probably should be yet, and you know, whatever, not interested in girls like the other kids my age or whatever. And so, but then like Ruby and Sapphire hit at like the peak of the, you know, like the high school sort of hanging out with girls and not worried about video games sort of stage for me.
Yeah.
I eventually did play Sapphire, but I remember thinking, oh yeah, it was fun, but it never really stuck with me. So I'm interested to see just from a purely gameplay perspective as well, like how do they compare? Like, is it like a pretty accurate representation of the original overworld and stuff, or have they changed a lot?
So
like the
they changed. Yeah, they've changed a lot of the game, but everything that has changed, I feel personally, has actually changed for the better. So a lot of the mechanics that were sort of archaic nowadays, like even something as simple as changing your box to get a Pokemon out, like all of that stuff is now completely updated to the current standards, which were put in place with X and Y. So everything's in 3D, battles move quicker, battle animations are gorgeous, Pokemon actually make contact with one another with a lot of the moves. Boxes you could easily switch between, you could fly at any point. The biggest improvement from X and Y it's also there, which is if you're using a repel on the overworld, it'll automatically just ask, do you want to use another repel after your repel wears off?
Nice.
So really simple, but that's like a huge
I remember in X and Y it was like that, and I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, that's an option?
All
It's
that
not
stuff. All that stuff is back at Oris, and additionally, too, all the other stuff that was introduced in X and Y that was on the bottom screen, so stuff like the online features, Pokemon Ami, where you could like pet your Pokemon, the super training to EV train, all of that is there in this game, and the story is there, but it's been expanded upon, and it makes like a little more sense now. I think the objectives of the two main teams are still pretty stupid when you think about it, because one's like, I want to flood the entire world and drown everybody, and the other one's like, let's just get rid of all the water and just have nothing but land. So they're both kind of stupid, but the way they go about it this time is better.
Their goals are very polar.
Very, yes.
Can't have it both ways.
You can't.
Pick one.
So, but I mean, everything about it's great. Having Mega Evolution introduced as well, that was introduced in X and Y, and that's here in full force with a lot of new Pokemon getting Mega Evolution. Some of my favorites and a lot of the classic ones, like all have Mega Evolutions now as well. So Pidgeot got a Mega Evolution.
Yeah, that one I was really excited for. That seems like I don't know, like it's such a weird sort of one to pick, but I remember playing through. I think it was playing through Crystal for the first time. I ran into a shiny Pidgeot almost immediately playing that game, and so that thing like was with me through the entire the entire game, and just that one in particular, I was just like, yes.
Well, the one everyone is talking about competitively for the metagame right now is Lopunny. So Lopunny is, for those of you who don't know, is the evolved form of a Pokemon called Baniri that was introduced in the Sinnoh region. And he's not really that good of a Pokemon, and when it evolves, it's really not that good of a Pokemon. But when it Mega Evolves, Lopunny is now an enormous threat. So it gets this ability called Scrappy, where it can hit Ghost types with normal and fighting moves, which are otherwise, not effective. You can't exactly. But on top of that, it gains an additional typing with the fighting typing. So Lopunny is now a normal fighting type whenever it Mega Evolves, and has the Scrappy ability, and basically can wreck any ghost in the game with a Mach Punch or a Quick Attack. Which is something that
game-breaking.
It's not game-breaking though, which is cool because there's lots of other ways to like beat it, and there's Burial Aids, and it's very well balanced. Especially X and Y was pretty well balanced too. Obviously, the people in the Smogon community are going to go back and forth and tell you, these Pokemon should be banned or vice versa. But I mean, if you watch the World Tournament this year, I think that just goes to show how good the balance is during this generation. Because a guy used a Pachirisu to win Worlds. So it was a 2v2 fight, and one of the Pokemon in one of his teams was a Pachirisu. And the Pachirisu, and it clinched. I was there in the audience, and it clinched the win for him from like a Garchomp and a Tyranitar, which is insane. But the games feel a lot more balanced to me. The metagame is great, and all the new introductions of the new Mega Evolutions are fantastic too.
It sounds like how how stupid, unbalanced the anime is. This little mouse beating up against a dragon and winning.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
It felt like that at Worlds, because he even had his little Pachirisu doll, and Sejun was like holding it up in the air when he won. So yeah.
Very cool. So just a couple more questions. One of the big complaints that I had about about Pokemon X and Y was the frame rate if you played in 3D. It would take a serious performance hit, which, if Sakurai can get Smash Brothers to run as well as it does on the 3DS, I don't understand the problems that the Pokemon Company seems to be having making these. Is that any better in ORAS? Is there more 3D than there was? Because the sort of 2D, 3D jump back and forth. I'm the kind of person who loves playing in 3D as much as possible.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to unload the operating system like Smash does.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you just because I never play in 3D for Pokemon.
Oh, really?
Ever.
Okay.
Never. I love it. I love it in Kid Icarus. I think it's amazing in Kid Icarus. And I love it in even Animal Crossing, which is kind of weird. I like playing in 3D sometimes in Animal Crossing. But yeah, Pokemon and Smash Brothers, I always have that little thing clicked off. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I almost always play games in 3D.
Yeah. I'm sure if the frame rate drops were there in X and Y, and I know they were, I knew that was a prevalent problem, I'm pretty sure they're probably here too. I haven't heard anybody say, wow, the frame rate's so much better. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And I know that, I don't know if they're just like, oh, well, it's fine because it's kids, and kids play the 2DS, or they play with the thing off, and so it doesn't matter. I don't know. It seems, and again, maybe it's just that a lot of people don't play in 3D and whatever, but for me, I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to from that franchise with the introduction of the new 3DS is the improved hardware capabilities, and just maybe their ability to actually get a pretty consistent experience across the whole game and not have crappy performance out of the end.
And it's so weird to look at that even now, because considering the fact that the holiday season is here, and the new 3DS is already available in Japan. It's going to be available, if it's not already, in Australia this holiday. Yeah. So it seems very strange that they're holding off on doing it. I mean, I understand why. From a business standpoint, I know they want to get rid of all their old hardware for the Christmas. But I know if I was a parent, if I was one of you guys, and my kids were saying, oh, buy me a 3DS for Christmas, and I didn't know anything about games, and then suddenly in January during their big Nintendo Direct, they go, by the way, American people, you're getting a new 3DS. I would be furious. I would be supremely furious.
Well, and you can even look at it, and we had the announcment that there was the new 3DS. Was it back in August? For, Japan had an announcement, right? And then in North America, they're rolling out. They had that new the redesign with the old NES look to it.
Right.
Came out. Right. They have the Smash Brothers ones. Right. Like they're not trying to clear their stock. They're literally making new skins. Like to your point, Roger. Like you need to stop selling these.
The Persona Q one.
Yeah, the Persona Q to get ready for your January.
Super bizarre that that's even being released in North America. That they're making a Persona 3DS like that. To me, I have no idea why they're doing that. So I'm not complaining, but it's strange.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a super limited run where it's just like, okay, let's have like 1,000 of these. I don't know how many, but just like like such a limited amount, and just like as a for the super hardcore fans, and I don't think it's probably very big, but. To your point about this Christmas though, I think that they are. I mean, I've already seen Black Friday advertisements where XLs for $150, the crystal blue and red 2DSs for $100. This holiday, we actually picked one up for my 4-year-old son.
Wow.
Because he doesn't have it. But I mean, I think a 2DS is a little bit different. I don't think that they're going to make a new 2DS.
No.
They're going to make a 3DS.
Probably
not. It's just like. It's kind of just like the very first, hardware that we've ever bought for it.
Well, I think 2DS. I think 2DS is what they're trying to do. Is they're just trying to get that market so that you can get them early, right? Hook the kids early enough in the Nintendo ecosystem that they become this attachment to it. That transition to a 3DS in 2 or 3 years from now. Hey, these things play on it. I know the ecosystem. Mario, I like Mario. Right, it's like early crack for kids. Let's be honest here.
Right, yeah.
Which, by the way, we don't condone. But
hey. Okay, we have Ricky Cocaine on Japan time. I'm not saying I don't condone anything. I can't take away from his business.
I also would not say Ricky Cocaine is rated G. So Ricky Cocaine is not rated E for everybody.
He's definitely not E for everybody. He is not.
And I think when you compare that to the tablet market and the prices, I think it's smart for the Nintendo to do the 2DS. We even had last week's question was, I've got a little 5-year-old who should, what do we get them? And we all kind of came to the conclusion of I think a 2DS is the smart place to be. So.
One thing on the topic you mentioned though about the 2DS and it sort of being like this introductory system, like we were just talking about Ricky, is when he bought his system, like when he actually needed to buy a DS to play Smash Brothers, he went to the 2DS. So that was like the first thing he went to, and he's like the most hardcore of hardcore. He plays Smash Brothers competitively, all this stuff. But he actually purchased a 2DS, and that sort of goes into something you were talking about with the Black Friday deals, where you can get them for $99. Because the deal that's going on for Black Friday, which is like you get Yoshi with it, right? It's like Yoshi and the 2DS. There was a deal at Target 4 months ago for a 2DS with Pokemon for $99, and that's when Ricky ended up buying a system. So I'm surprised that actually hasn't. Yeah, and it was only for like a week at Target. It was like a week-long thing that happened at Target, and that's how he ended up buying his system, and he wouldn't have been able to buy one otherwise.
So Roger, does he use that then as his primary like gaming?
Yeah.
It's not just kind of like a I don't because I mean I think I could probably see a lot of like competitive players. You would probably have what I would almost call like my training equipment and my like. I don't want to run through an actual 3DS every 6 months.
Sure.
So I'll pick up a 2DS. But he used that as primary, hey?
Yeah, he doesn't even have a regular 3DS. He just has a 2DS with like Pokemon and Smash Brothers, which is the only stuff he even plays. So yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Cartridge or digital?
Yeah.
I was going to ask Roger. You were mentioning, you were talking about Pokemon and obviously kind of this being a little bit of the Nintendo Dads podcast. How consumable do you think the content is for kids to jump into that environment and kind of understand Pokemon, how it works? Obviously, you have a good history with it,
sure,
and experience. So, someone kind of jumping into it, do you think they could, or do you think they need to go to the back catalogs before you can get where you are?
That's interesting.
That experience.
That's actually really interesting because the games have been getting more and more complicated. But I think Pokemon has always done a good job of being very family friendly. Very easy for kids to pick up and play.
Sure,
and I don't think this one's I don't think this one's really any different. I think the thing that is odd about this game, and it's more to do with the localization of the game, the English localization than anything else, there are a lot of huge vocabulary words in this game. Like the vernacular is definitely like high school level in a lot of the conversations, which is kind of bizarre. You don't normally expect that in a Pokemon game. But usually that kind of stuff is used by like the evil villainous teams. So really you're just going to like be pressing A super quickly, flying through that anyway. It's really not going to matter. And the basic premise of the plot, create more water, create more land to get this other Pokemon, I mean, that comes through very easily. So, yeah, I mean, it's still super consumable for kids, and the characters are super cute, and no one's doing anything inappropriate. The only things that I guess could maybe potentially be seen as suggestive is there's like 2 new admins for each team that were not there before. They used to just be like standard grunts. Those admins are now their own fleshed out characters, and they're bizarre. And one of them is, I don't want to say she's like a stripper, but she has that sort of like vibe about her, and it's very strange.
I choose you, stripper Pokemon.
But that's prevalent in both games, which is kind of strange.
Okay. So are we talking more like a sort of like high fashion, sort of like scantily clad high fashion sort of?
No. It's in the dialogue. No. It's in the dialogue. Oh, really? It's not like I don't mean her outfit. Design. No. So it's in her dialogue. The dialogue for both of these characters, I know the one in Omega Ruby is Courtney. I don't remember the name of the one that's in Team Aqua. But they're both very much like very sensual characters. Like they're meant to sort of like seduce the main character, which is really weird for a Pokemon game. And I noticed that immediately in my playthrough. I was like, what the heck? She's like saying weird things. So, yeah. I don't mind. I'm a 24-year-old man playing Pokemon, so like hit on me all you want, little Pokemon girl. But like,
yeah. I think my impression.
Daddy, why do I feel funny in the pants?
Yeah. I thought this was saying G, Jesse.
I think a lot of stuff like that is basically a lot of stuff like that. You even see it in like kids' movies and stuff where kids will understand it on like a base level, like, oh, she wants to kiss him, right, or something like that. Right. Whereas you don't understand exactly what it means, other than oh, she's a kissy face or what, you know what I mean? Right. So
it's the exact same thing. Like it's the same kind of thing.
And you think that's a localization kind of issue with that?
I don't think I think the way they're wording it is questionable in localization, having read some of it in Japanese. But I mean, the Japanese is just as straightforward. And in fact, there are scenes that are even more suggestive later on in the game, where it's like they're really trying to push the boundaries with some of these characters and make social statements. So,
I was going to ask if you researched what the Japanese text said.
Yeah, there's only one, and there's one scene in particular, and it's in post-game, so spoiler alert. Not really a spoiler though. There's a little area you visit. It's like it's like a man-made reef basically, and you go to this man-made reef, and in the last room that you enter, it's like locked, and you have to get a key to go to the room. And then in the room, there's 2 girls talking to each other, and they're the only ones in this room with like one item. And you talk to one of the girls, and the girl says to you, she's like, "I thought I locked the door. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And then the other girl, you talk to her, and it just says blush. And so it's like, what is going on in here? And it's really weird. So it's like these two like teenage lesbian lovers are like locked up in this room in this man-made reef. But that's the kind of thing that's like prevalent in here. And I'm not like opposing it. I actually think that's kind of cool that they're doing that, and they're like sort of making the games grow up a little bit. But at the same time, it did kind of like throw me for a loop the first time it happened. But I mean, I think it's a good direction because again, kids aren't gonna like think about what that is.
Yeah. Well, I remember like stuff in like even the early games where you just some of the stuff that would come up, there'd just be like the weirdest sort of mention, the weirdest comments right before you'd start a battle.
Yeah.
So I think
that is still very much prevalent.
Yeah. Very cool. No, I think it's definitely from a basic sort of thing. As long as kids can read the basic premise, look at the map. Okay, where am I going next? I'm like kids are just like I'm going to get my next gym badge. I don't care whatever is going on. And stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not going to be exploring the houses and talking to the weird people. They're going to be catching their next Pokemon.
Very cool.
And by the way, one thing I want to mention that I haven't mentioned that is super cool about this game that kids are going to love is the contests from Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh, that's right.
They are so good now. Like they are. I'm debating doing a playthrough for my channel of like a contest rating battle to the top thing or whatever. where like I try to rank through the contests because it's really cool and is extremely visually appealing. Like some of the stuff that they do in the contests, like the special moves that happen after you hit a certain level, they are crazy. Like your Pokemon will go Super Saiyan and they'll be flying around the screen and it's all in like gorgeous 3D. It's super cool. Yeah, the contests are great. And you get a cosplay Pikachu after the first time you compete in your contest. And that Pikachu can be taken out into battle. And depending on the costume the Pikachu is wearing, it gets a different type of move. And so competitively, that's even changing up the game because now like Pikachu with the beauty outfit gets an ice type move. And now suddenly Light Ball Pikachu with the beauty outfit is like incredibly powerful and it can kill dragons in like one hit with Icicle Crash.
Wow.
So like that's the kind of stuff that like you won't know unless you really start investigating the game, but kids are going to adore that, and I can only imagine like being on the schoolyard and being like, my Pikachu's a cool Pikachu, and it could use Meteor Mash, and the other one's like, well, mine's a beautiful one, and it could use Icicle Crash, and then the kids fight with each other, and I mean, I'm using one in my playthrough right now for my channel, and I'm loving it, so.
That's really cool. Very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I'm probably going to get that one around Christmas sometime, I think.
Cool.
And definitely going to play through it. And cool. I think that's just about any other questions from either of you guys before we move on to Smash?
Nope.
My bread and butter.
Great. Thank you,
Smash.
Roger. That's pretty great insight for that one, actually.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Awesome. So Smash Brothers obviously is the other one. Now I'm going to be totally honest. Okay, who here has played the 3DS one? I know Roger, you played the 3DS one.
I have to.
Yes, of course. You played, Justin. You played it. How much did you play it, Justin? I know you don't. How much?
Yeah, no. So I borrowed a friend's 3DS because I don't have one. Hashtag first world problems and parenting problems. But I borrowed a friend's 3DS. Downloaded the demo. So I was stuck in just the demo mode where I had the 5 characters to choose from. So that was my exposure to it.
Okay, cool. Jesse, did you play the 3DS version? Do you have the Wii U version?
I have both versions. I bought it, the 3DS version, for my son. I haven't touched it. He's played the hell out of it. And then we got the Wii U version on I pre-ordered it, so it was preloaded, and right at midnight I hit the button. It downloaded the last so many meg patch, and I actually was streaming Twitch at that point, so people could watch the patch process if they really wanted to. I don't think anyone did. But
nothing's more riveting than patch process.
But it was there,
best.
and then as soon it launched, then I had to launch, and I literally played it maybe 10 minutes and said, I have no idea what I'm doing, and my son has been playing it ever since.
Nice.
Very cool. Yeah.
I asked on Twitter if there was a Smash for Dummies or some sort of tutorial that could teach me how to play, and
actually, you mentioned that, and friend of the show, actually, Jesse, you met him before. Remember JC?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's actually hosting. Yeah, JC Rodrigo. He's actually hosting a thing for the official Nintendo YouTube page that is basically Smash for beginners that will teach you advanced techniques super early on.
Well,
so
I
if
need
you
to
actually
learn
go
the
to the
beginning
Nintendo
techniques.
page. Well, even the beginning, I mean, they're all there, like learning shielding and everything like that, power smashes, all that kind of stuff. You could find that now, and it's available, and he's been making those. I think they're on like episode 3 right now, but they're all live.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like playing Brawl and Melee and just like sort of having a fairly decent idea, but then just there's some not even necessarily advanced techniques, but just things that you don't necessarily right off the bat start thinking of, like. I remember just like the idea of sort of short hopping and when stuff like that when you're approaching. I would just like run and dash at people every time for a long time when I was first starting out. But there's a lot of sort of they're not even necessarily advanced moves, but like the idea of having like back airs and just different moves like that when you kind of advance past the button mashing. It's pretty cool.
For a friend of the family who's played previous games is upset that wave smashing is gone, or whatever they called it.
Wave dashing, yeah.
Wave dashing, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I played I played the 3DS version. I'm pretty sure I've logged like 85 hours or something like that into the 3DS version. Plus, I think before that game even launched, I probably logged 10 hours into the demo, which was kind of crazy. But so I feel like and maybe I think part of the hype. I don't know, Roger, if you can relate to this, but I feel like I got it. I'm like, this is beautiful. This is great. this is exactly like the game I've been playing for the past 95 hours.
Sure.
And part of me is like, I'm not as excited. Like, I wish I would have waited. I feel like that guy who didn't wait and then is like on his wedding night is like, I should have waited. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. What are you same thing?
I mean, I'm the guy who's not waiting for his wedding night, so I'm enjoying both versions. But
which is why you blushed when I said 9 months.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, don't be joking, man. Yeah. No, but personally, I don't know. I guess for me, I feel kind of the same, but it's on a different level. So for me, I'm never gonna touch the 3DS version again. Like, to be completely honest, that could very well be dead to me. Like, if someone came in my house right now and took a hammer to my 3DS, not my 3DS, but like the cartridge, and broke it, I'd be like, oh, I'm so sad, but I would never go buy another copy of that game. Like, I just won't, because I have the Wii U one now.
Yeah.
But I totally, like, I feel you. I do. I understand you being like, okay, this feels like the 3DS game. I've already played this. And I think a lot of that has to do, like, personally, what I'm disappointed with, if we're looking at modes in the Wii U version, I'll start with what I'm disappointed with before I start, like, splooging about how much I love it. The two things I really am not happy with, one, are the stage selection. I think the stage selection in the Wii U one in particular is supremely lacking, and there are some incredible stages in the Wii U one, like Orbital Gate, fantastic. The new Star Fox stage,
that one.
Incredible. Skyloft is fantastic with the Skyward Sword music that plays. It kind of like works like Delfino Plaza. The Duck Hunt stage, really cool. But then you've got stages that are coming back that have no business coming back. Like, there's a new city and town stage from Animal Crossing, and then there's Smashville from Brawl, which is
they're exactly the same almost.
And they're almost exactly the same.
In fact, there are several stages that are almost exactly the same, I've noticed.
Mario Circuit, for example. Mario Circuit is super cool. The new Mario Kart 8 Anti-Gravity Mario Circuit stage, amazing. But then they decided of all the stages to bring back from Brawl, instead of bringing back any of the cool ones, they brought back like Mario Circuit, which everybody, both competitively and people who played it for fun, nobody gave a poop about that stage. Nobody cared, So it's kind of depressing that of all the stages was chosen to come back, or like the fact that Bridge of Eldin is back, but not the pirate ship stage when we just had Wind Waker HD. There's stuff like that that just makes absolutely no sense to me, and I think that's super depressing for me. And I feel like there are some great stages, but even like Onett, for example, like we have that amazing Magicant stage on the 3DS version, and there's some stages that go between both versions, and I thought for sure Magicant would be one that goes through both. I'm like, it's gorgeous, I'm sure it'll look amazing in HD. And they didn't have it. They just brought back Onett from Melee, and that's the only Earthbound stage. They didn't even bring back New Pork City from Brawl, and everybody hated New Pork City, but at the same time, now we have 8-player Smash.
Exactly,
so at least that game would make more sense. Like, so that those kind of things, like, I don't know. I'm very disappointed by the stage selection, which is weird coming from someone who loves Smash Brothers so much and literally like lives for that series. But yeah, I'm kind of depressed by that. And also, Smash Tour mode is not fun. So
yeah, it's interesting too. Kind of to talk a little bit about just sort of the downers before we get into it. The stage creator, well, initially I was like, hey, that's cool, you can draw your own stages.
Yeah.
I kind of had this impression in my mind because my friends and I, we would actually I lived in a house with like 5 other guys when I was in college, and so we would like make cool stages to play on that were like interesting, multi-level sort of things, but were still didn't have any sort of weird random changes or whatever. So it was a really cool, and it was actually a really full-fledged sort of level creator in Brawl. And then going to this one, like in Brawl, you could like have the cool like 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 a Ferris wheel sort of thing, and there was lots of cool pillars and lots of different things that you could put into your stages to make an awesome stage. And I kind of jumped into this one. I was like, oh, you draw the whole thing freehand and put up edges. You can put lava on the edges, and you can move some platforms. And that's pretty much it. Okay, and so that as well, I was kind of like, oh, that's too bad, because I was really looking forward to recreating this level that we had made, that we would do all of our, like, it was this cool level where it was sort of a like a cool like staircase with a platform on either side of the staircase, and then like a floating platform on one side as well. And it was this really fun stage that allowed a lot of sort of aerial and like different, sort of different cool areas to fight in. And I was really looking forward to making it again. And I was like, oh wait, no, I can't make it in this. Like it won't be nearly as cool.
The one thing I don't know this because I haven't really even dived into Stage Builder yet. I've just been playing main Smash mode and event matches. But like maybe you're actually able to unlock more Stage Builder items because that happened in Brawl too. Is not all of that stuff was available immediately. That could be something you unlock via the challenge wall.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I've done some challenge stuff, and you'd think that they would unlock some stuff early on.
Yeah.
Just to be like, oh, more's coming, keep doing it,
Sure.
It's possible though, but it's also kind of a, and who knows? I mean, we know that the tournament stuff is still coming in upcoming matches and stuff like that.
Mewtwo.
Yeah, Mewtwo's coming, and so I definitely would like to see them flesh that stage creator a little bit more. Plus, they've also even said that the update where you can share your stages is still coming too, so maybe that's another thing.
And the Miiverse stage as well. The Miiverse stage too.
Oh, that's right. That's coming later too.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's definitely interesting to see. Having said all of that, I think it's awesome.
Oh, of course.
I think it's a really really great. It's really been awesome. I love the fact, by the way, the night that we got it, my brother and I were just like hanging out. Like it's at 10 o'clock my time, like it unlocked, and I was like, yes, awesome. Unlock the game and get playing. And right away he's like, can I use my 3DS as a controller? Yep. And sure enough, if you've done it, if you've played the 3DS game, it is like there's no latency whatsoever. It is. Yeah. It's great. Well, I mean, like on the professional scene, I'm sure that you wouldn't want to use the 3DS. For that sort of precision, but it is.
I'm nodding and smiling, but yeah, I'm the person who uses the GameCube controller attached.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like no wave birds, man. Not even the wave birds.
Not even. No.
Yeah, but I did pick up the GameCube adapter, and been playing mostly with my wave bird just because that's what I have. I do have some corded ones, but it's been awesome. The character selection, same as the 3DS, is great. A lot of the multiplayer stuff, like we kind of talked about last week, I am surprisingly missing. I'm missing more than I expected to the Subspace Emissary or some sort of similar mode where I'm like, especially playing with my 4-year-old son, we played through some of the, a pretty big chunk of Subspace Emissary, which is really like the Smash Brothers version of New Super Mario Brothers. The sort of there's a pretty good, essentially the bubble mechanic, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's great, and the functionality with syncing up with the 3DS version for your customized characters and stuff like that is pretty neat too. Although I wish that you could sync up the items and especially with the Amiibo integration, syncing up your equipment that you've earned on the 3DS version that you could feed your Amiibo on the Wii U version would be super nice because I don't have nearly enough equipment to feed mine right now.
So I was going to say, have you been trying to level up your Amiibo?
I have a problem, and it's Amiibos actually.
Really?
I have 5 so far.
Oh my gosh!
Now, are you entering them into tournaments and knocking people out?
That is
although that was
already.
Awesome.
Yeah, did you guys see that tweet I put out?
Yes.
I saw someone talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially somebody
entered his level 50 Fox Amiibo into a professional Super Smash Bros. Tournament, and he like knocked somebody into loser's bracket, like the Fox Amiibo did. Because the level was like too high in it, yeah. So
it's crazy. Well, I think, and I kind of wonder about that too, is that even if you're doing custom fighters, the Amiibo still maintain their altered stats from like when you feed them the equipment and stuff like that. So I think that could be part of why, but also they're just really good computer players. I have leveled up a Samus to level 50. I've got a level 50 Samus, and I've kind of increased the speed and attack on it, so jumping all over the place. And one thing I've noticed, especially with my Samus, for some reason, she will jump way off the stage and fall almost to her death, and then will jump back up and grab onto the ledge and keep fighting. I'm just like, what the heck? Like, I have no... I've never played like that against it, and so I think the idea that they learn from you, I think, there must just be like a checklist of, oh, did he do this move, this kind of thing? Yep. Okay. Well, then I'll start doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because they learn from you, but if you're playing cheaply, they won't learn from you. If you actually have to be fighting them, but they won't use like cheap fighting techniques. Like they aren't campy. Like one of my friends leveled his fox to 50, and he is the campiest player you'll ever see in your life. He'll sit at the end of the stage and just bullet, and then shoot to the other side and just keep lasering you, and then shine and laser and shine and laser. And he's been training his amiibo like crazy, but his amiibo does not play like that. His amiibo kicks his butt, which is awesome. I appreciate it.
I'd love if the amiibo sent him like a message like, "Hey, let's not be a douche."
Exactly, yeah. Like my Peach is level 50, and that thing is a monster to train against. So
I was actually kind of speaking of the leveling system. I was a little bit shocked about how quickly they leveled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like so I've got a Mario and I have a Link. And I haven't spent a lot of time just kind of like just training them myself. So what I've been doing at home with my daughters, so I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, is kind of they really want to play Smash. So we're like, all right, before we go to bed, you can play a couple games of Smash together. We'll play Team Smash, and I will be on like the red team, and I will give them, one of them will be in the blue team. They get to pick whatever character they want, whatever color dress they want, and that's the big thing. And then give them Mario and Link on their team as well. So it's basically 3-on-1.
Yeah.
Right? Because it becomes a bit more equalized. But we did that, we've played probably about an hour and a half of that collectively. And I went from like level 21 all the way up to base. I think Mario's at level 47 already.
Jeez, right? Wow, yeah.
So they're fighting against each other, or they're on the same team, they're working together, and so in less than 3 hours, they're basically just shy of 50. So I was a little bit shocked on that. I felt like it would take a little bit longer. So I don't know. What are your guys' impressions on how quickly those?
Yeah, I kind of had this sort of idea that for some reason I had this expectation. Maybe it's fueled by my experience in like MMOs or something like that. But I thought like, yeah, sure. Like I'm seeing him grow to level 10 or level 15 pretty quick. But I was expecting like the grind from like 40 to 50 to be like 10 matches per level.
You hit an XP wall at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. This sort of exponential curve, and it's absolutely not. It's just like. Yeah, every single battle you're probably going to gain 1 or 2 levels.
Yeah, I was just like I said. In reference to the matches, we know that on the spoiler alert, on 20 matches you play against Wario, right? He becomes unlocked. Yeah. I just did that in my Mario's at level 47.
Oh my gosh.
Right, so you're kind of like, all right, so we'll be done by 25, like 5 more matches and everyone's at 50. So I think that's a bit of a thing that I like. To your point, I wish they would have grinded that a bit more. But at the same time, when my daughters are playing with me now, I have 2 amiibos that are pretty high skilled. Yeah. Right. So I'm getting whooped pretty good by those 2. My daughter every once in a while walks on the stage and kicks me in the teeth with Peach or whatever, and then all of a sudden they win the match. Right.
Yeah.
So she's like, I won, I beat you, and you're like, yes, you and those 2 other jerks over there. Right. So, but
you can't let your daughter win. Come on, like
I know.
Horrible. What are you teaching her?
Yeah, I kind of had a similar sort of. I had a similar sort of thing where it's funny. It's even in the advertising early on. I think they were talking. Nintendo was saying, yeah, you start out by fighting them and training them one-on-one, and then eventually you will have them on your team because there's no way that you will be able to beat them. Like for kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where that they are quite advanced AI, or not necessarily advanced AI, but they're pretty high difficulty. So I love it though. I think it's the perfect sort of integration without really requiring them. My only complaint that I had was when I hit level 50, I was like, yes, I'm gonna get something on that challenge wall, and nothing unlocked on the challenge wall when I hit level 50, and I was like, really? Like, I understand that you don't want to make these required, but there's got to be something, right? Like, and so I was a little bit disappointed in that, and I think it's probably just because they don't want to make them feel like they're required. I think that was probably Sakurai saying like, that's a step too far, because I want people to be able to play my game and not require these. It's absolutely 100% an optional thing. Yeah. Although I think
props for him for not putting a pay to win button.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about amiibos for a really long time, and this is almost going into that discussion. But just still, like, while we're talking about Smash Brothers, one thing I'm really happy with is the event matches coming back. And you were talking about missing Subspace, but co-op event is so good. Co-op event matches are so much fun to just like play with your friends. Like a couple of my friends were here from out of town the other day, so Kubanamani456 and Giancarlo Paramango were both here, and we were just playing Smash matches, and we went through co-op. That was a blast. I have not had that much fun playing non-regular Smash matches in Smash Brothers for a very long time. So I'm very happy with event matches being back, and even all the stuff that you can do, like with the photos, where you could like draw on the photos and like have your trophy dioramas and stuff like that. I'm loving it. So I haven't really had any time to like make funny Miiverse posts, but I guarantee you, when I do have the time, the world better watch out because I'm going to be going viral every day. So
yeah, it sounds really bad. I kind of love just pausing it every once in a while and just taking that camera and just panning around.
Sure.
And taking a look. Because, man, those are just gorgeous graphics, and everything looks so good.
Yeah, I love that in Brawl, too.
That Star Fox stage is unbelievable. Like, I saw that stage, I almost teared up and cried. Like, I love Star Fox Assault, and the Orbital Gate totally does Star Fox justice. I love that stage. With the codex and then the missiles that are flying at you when you jump on the back of the R-Wings as they're flying through. I love it.
So good. I'm so excited for that game, man. When it coming up, I'm pumped.
Yeah,
so,
and I'm not usually one for like weird stages, but I love the Wrecking Crew stage too because I'm a huge fan of the old NES game, and so I found myself playing on Wrecking Crew a lot.
With the girls, obviously, because of just the dynamic of them learning how to play the game, I try and keep the levels that there are no pits, right? Like, so it's a flat level. The only way you can lose is by going left or right all the way to the screen. So the boxing one, I kind of try and play there, but it's a little bit complex because of jumping into the boxing ring.
Yeah.
So we're playing in the Wii Fit Trainer area with the big freaking glass mirror in the back.
Oh, yeah.
That confuses the hell out of me all the time. I'm like, I don't really know where I am anymore because I see a reflection, and there's like 8 different Pokemon on the screen. I don't know what's happening. So... some of the levels are a bit...
The Pokemon League stage is incredible, too, where it goes between the 4 different versions of the Elite Four, and then they have like the different Pokemon that come up on screen. I love that stage as well. And the music in this game...
Yeah, it is the perfect... That stage is the perfect sort of next step on the Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, where it's basically the same thing, but a little like more stage hazards and like cranked up to 11 visually. Yeah, for sure. So, has anybody played online? I've played a little bit. I don't have a LAN adapter, and so I don't know how critical do you think that is.
So
I honestly don't think you really need it, to be honest. Like, I mean, I've been playing online like crazy, and I play super competitively, and even then, I mean, it's been fine for me. There's been a couple times where I've had a lot of lag when it was against random opponents, but when I was playing against my friends, I had very little.
Oh, okay.
I jumped online once into not for fun but for the glory rounds, and I got annihilated. I'll tell you that first and foremost. But I had pretty big lag at times. They did their final smash. They had Falcon, and all of a sudden his car came flying at me, and it just started lagging pretty bad. So I didn't know if that was a nature of just the servers getting hit really hard or just my connection, but I have a strong connection here, so I was a little bit shocked by that one for sure.
Yeah,
it's certainly not as bad as Brawls. I mean, Brawls was like noticeably horrible, and it hasn't been that bad for me. So
yeah,
it
Brawls
was like the 3DS one, really.
Yeah, it seems comparable to the 3DS one for sure.
Yeah.
Do you know, Roger? I don't know. I haven't even really noticed or anything. I'm assuming that the Wii U version is just whatever the post-patch 3DS version is.
Yeah.
Like they're balanced the same.
The balance? Yeah. So when you download the patch day one, it already has the balance patch from the 3DS one that like nerfs Rosalina's Luma, and it buffs, weirdly enough, it buffs Little Mac's KO punch. So now it kills you at 13 instead of 16%, which is weird. There's a couple other buffs that they added, like they took out vectoring.
Bowser suicide belly flop
kills first. Yeah. There's something with Mega Man too. There's like something with Mega Man with his dash attack. So
I really wish they would do like coming from the MMO, sort of having history with that. Like especially World of Warcraft has such detailed patch notes. Anytime there's a patch.
I am so on. Me and the entire Smash Brothers community is with you on that. I would love patch notes. I don't think it's going to happen, just knowing how Nintendo is a lot of the time, but I mean, I would love patch notes, and I'm sure there's people like JC and like Danny and friends of mine who are over there who would be happy to write them if they actually, needed them. So
for sure, I would just like to know, like, okay, well, how have you affected my character?
Yeah,
like that. I guess there's maybe just one last thing we want to touch on is who is everybody playing so far? Like, who are you like? One or two characters.
See, we have a way that we go down this in like my group of friends that all plays, like the Japan Time crew, is we have a main, and then we have our bread and butter, which is our second main, and then we got backup 1, and then we got backup 2. So we all have 4 mains. Cool. And my main is Game & Watch. It's always been Game & Watch. That's not changing. It's been Game & Watch since Melee. My bread and butter is Villager, so I play a ton of Villager. And then my backup 1 is Lucario, who is incredible in this game. Lucario is so good. And my backup 2 is Rob. Rob has been given a huge buff since Brawl. His new side B is super punishable, but it's super good. And if I had to have a 5th, I'd say like Rosalina.
Cool. Very cool. Justin, what about you? You got any favorites so far?
Yeah, so when I was playing the 3DS version for those demos, I fell in love with Mega Man. Now, with the demo, they only gave you 5 to choose from, but Mega Man was like, old school memories, and just seeing him on the platform is great. So I went straight to him when I got it going. So I keep him kind of like my number 3. I goes back to, but I really enjoy playing Link and Toon Link.
Oh yeah.
And like the movesets are so close to each other, and I think it's also with Toon Link, especially we talked about this a couple episodes, guys, that I have been just jumping into Wind Waker. That all of those little hi-yas and all that kind of like it was like, yes, that's where I am right now. I feel like that's you just picked them up and moved them into this game. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the ones.
I'm super depressed that the Wind Waker stage didn't come back. That's what I'm talking about.
That was such a good stage.
That should have been here. Even competitive players were like, we love that stage. I don't know why the pirate ship didn't come back. That's such a huge disappointment. Bringing back Eldon instead of...
do you think maybe it had something to do with the fact that they were like, oh, we don't really know how to do a Final Destination version of this stage?
No. All they would have to do is just have it sitting still in the water and a platform like they do with the Spirit Track stage on 3DS.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing else. They wouldn't have to do anything else.
Nintendo, take notes.
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Put that in the next patch, man. Give me back Pirate Ship.
Sure.
I love that stage.
Someone submit a copy of the show to JC.
There you go. I'll do it. I'll forward it to him.
And I'd say if I went to a 4th level, I'd probably go Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, Donkey Kong is great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Jesse, you got any favorites so far?
Yeah, I don't even know how to play, so I've got nothing. So instead, I've got a little story I wanted to share. So this is the only amiibo I have, the Link one, and originally I wasn't planning on getting any amiibo because I wasn't too thrilled with the price. But I noticed that I had like 6 years of GameStop points accumulating. So I had like 36,000 points, and then I looked to see what I can get with them. And for 15,000 points, I can get $15 off of an in-stock item. So my initial thought was, ooh, I need the GameCube adapter, so I'll go over there and I'll buy it for $5 instead of $20. Of course, they never had it in stock. So not even for their midnight launches, they had the amiibos, they had the game, but they didn't have the adapters. So I went online and ordered it from the GameStop website. So I got it, paid full price for it, plus Expedia shipping, but I still had this $15 coupon. I'm like, sure, I'll get one of these with it. So I got this for free with my 15,000 points, and I still can gank out another 15,000 point coupon to get another amiibo for free if I want.
Nice.
And Link is actually one of the best amiibos you can currently have right now because he works with Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, and Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
So he's like one of the most valuable in terms of actual game content.
And we've used it in Mario Kart to get that Zelda skin for the Mii racing armor, but we haven't tried it in
Are we
Hyrule
still
Warriors
waiting
yet.
on? I think we're still waiting on a patch for Hyrule Warriors. Aren't we?
No, just happened an hour ago, literally an hour
Oh,
ago.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Okay.
that had happened.
All right, yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but again, as I said, the top is the worst weapon ever. So I really don't know if I want to do
You
it.
haven't. Don't say that until you see it. I just saw. I think it was Jose Otero from IGN. He tweeted out a vine of him playing with the spinner, and it looks like an awesome weapon. And by the way, I wasn't here. I don't know if you guys talked about Hyrule Warriors. Could we talk about that game for a minute?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Oh my! I love that game, and I thought I was gonna hate that game. I thought I was going to genuinely hate that game with the fury of 1,000 suns, and yet I adore it, and I don't know why. And it's strange because I have Smash Brothers and I have Pokemon, but the game that I consistently find myself playing an hour of before I go to work and playing for an hour before I go to bed is Hyrule Warriors. I play on the adventure mode map. I unlock new weapons. I think it's super challenging in some of the later missions, and it's gorgeous in HD. I love that game. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but like, I like Hyrule Warriors so much more than I
I need to get back
thought.
into it, I think, because I feel like, have you played any of the Dynasty Warrior games before this?
No, so this is my first. Oh, I guess technically I did once with the One Piece. So there was like the One Piece Muso games on PS3, and I played those two, but they aren't really Dynasty Warriors. Like they're very much Muso games. So
yeah, I played the most recent one on Vita, and so I just barely played through that not too long ago. So it was definitely a sort of situation where I was like, oh, okay, more of the same, and so I feel like I need to go back into it though, because you're right. I'm almost done the campaign mode, I think, and I think I'm on the level where you unlock Agatha.
Oh,
mode.
yeah.
And so I kind of hit this sort of slog, and then Mario Kart DLC came out, and then Smash, and so I feel like I'm gonna have to go back now with because I have the Link Amiibo as well.
Yeah.
And just try it out, right? Because I think it's definitely a cool, it's a really fun game, and I just need to finish it. Like I haven't unlocked any of the other villains either, other than Ganondorf.
Oh, see, for me right now, that game is so good, and like I think on top of that, because it's being so well supported with DLC, like they just announced the new DLC pack with Twilight Princess Midna, where like it's Princess Midna and she uses the Mirror of Twilight as her weapon, and then they have like the Ilia skin for Zelda and the Postman skin for Link, and like a whole new challenge map. I love that. I'm going to download every single Master Quest DLC that ever comes out. I guarantee you I will.
If you buy the $20 pack, does that get you everything? Like, is that?
No, you have to buy them separately, $15 each of these DLC packs.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and like this one only includes one character. That the Midna one, the Twilight Princess one, it's got one character, a bunch of costumes, a challenge map, and a couple other items. I think it's like high-level weapons. But I mean, all of that right there alone is like 8 hours of content, guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
So like, I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of it. But like the Majora's Mask pack that's coming out early next year, where they haven't announced what characters there are, but there's apparently 2 brand new playable characters. I'm assuming one's got to be Skull Kid, and the other one's probably Tingle. I'm assuming it's probably going to be Tingle and Skull Kid. I can't wait. Like, and I love Majora's Mask.
Get like the Happy Mask salesman, and like his different weapons are like the different masks.
Masks, totally. So like, there's stuff that they could do. Those 3 characters seem like the most likely: Happy Mask Salesman, Tingle, and Skull Kid.
Especially with Majora's Mask 3D in development.
Oh, and that's totally why they're doing the Majora's Mask DLC pack, I'm sure, because the 3D game is coming out, in spring, they said? So, like, March, April is around the same time they have the Hyrule Warriors pack, so totally, it's the perfect lead-up for it. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that really quickly, because I'm adoring it. And Mario Kart. God, Mario Kart's DLC, the Jazz Mute City theme, inject that into my veins, please. Like, I love it. I'm loving it. Nintendo is doing right by me in so many ways right now. And, like, this is the first time in a very long time where I feel overwhelmed by content.
Roger is rated T for teen for implicit drug use. For implied drug use.
I like how implicit it was.
Implicit, yeah. It's like, I definitely don't...
I meant implied, but...
I know. But no, I mean I'm loving it. I love where Nintendo is right now because earlier in the year I was super disappointed. I know there were people who liked Donkey Kong Country. I truly did not care about Tropical Freeze at all. And there weren't really many other games that had come out earlier in the year for Wii U, and it kind of felt like, what is there to play outside of like 3D Land and Nintendo Land, you know? But now with Mario Kart, Hyrule Warriors, and Smash Brothers alone, I feel like the Wii U is not getting turned off for at least a year and a half. Like there's so much content there.
And we talked about last time as well, Roger. We talked about you even throw Bayonetta 2 into that mix.
Oh God, I haven't even played Bayonetta 2 yet.
Yeah, we haven't, but it scored pretty well. And then you look at, we were talking about it last time as well, that Nintendo's really doing a large push on the indie scene.
Yes.
We're seeing the indie content really come up to the forefront. I think Thomas Was Alone was released either this week or tomorrow, I think, to purchase as well. So they're really hitting their stride. They ever since May with the release of Mario Kart 8, rolling out how they approached E3, what they wanted to do, what their approach to gaming was, more about bringing people to fun.
Yeah.
And then I think you look at 6 months out, you release a patch for Mario Kart 8. Another 6 months later, you get your second patch for it. And again, none of these feel like forced patches. Like, oh, by the way, we forgot to give you these levels.
Sure, yeah.
These all feel like things that they spend the time and due diligence to really ensure that are created and have and add value, not just rip people away of DLC. So I agree that they're hitting on all cylinders right now, and they're just burning up the market.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing. They're doing DLC right. I've been so disappointed by DLC from a lot of these other companies, and even people who are talking about DLC for Smash Brothers. Like, nothing's been announced, and I think they even publicly said that they have nothing planned right now, but I think that's probably a lie. But regardless, they said officially they have nothing planned for Smash Brothers outside of what's already been promised, and stuff that they couldn't finish by the launch of the game, like Mewtwo and the Miiverse stage. But I'm feeling pretty confident that like there's going to be DLC coming for that. Like, and I don't know if it'll be full on new characters. I mean, I'd love to see if they like made new characters to go along with some of their new games coming next year.
I'd love to see an inkling
from Splatoon. I literally was just you're taking the words out of my mouth. Totally. Yeah. I think an inkling would be perfect. Adding like, or at least a Splatoon stage at the very least.
Yeah.
And I played so much of that game, a disgusting amount of that game at E3 this year, and I fell in love with it. And
I'm so excited for that game.
I can't wait for Splatoon, and it's the first new IP in a long time.
Yeah. I'm excited for Shoot. I just
totally.
Codename Steam. Codename Steam's the other one where I'm like
Codename Steam looks
super excited for it. I'd love to see like a 3DS stage or something like that too.
And then of course fingers crossed if everything still works out the way that they've announced, we're getting Xenoblade, the new Xenoblade. Plus, we're getting Star Fox, which I did cry when they announced that this year, and we're getting Legend of Zelda. So that's a ton of game. Like I feel like I won't even be done with the games that I have right now by the time one of those games comes out. Like I know for a fact I won't be done with Smash Brothers or Hyrule Warriors by the time Splatoon comes out, at the very least.
And if you're thinking those are your A titles, let's say, Roger, that are keeping your traction, let's keep, like, there are B titles that are right in that surface. You've also got Yoshi's Woolly World that's supposed to be potentially in there. You've got Mario Maker, which could be sick.
Captain Toad in a few weeks.
Captain Toad next week.
Kirby.
That's dropping, and Kirby. Right, so you've got some heavy hitters in there for sure as well, let alone whatever else they bring out on the indie scene.
And there's Fire Emblem Shin Megami Tensei. That was announced a long time ago. We still don't know what's going on there. And of course, there's the rumblings that we're hearing from a lot of people that there's going to be a new Metroid announced at next E3 as well, which is kind of cool.
Still my aching heart.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on where a lot of people are excited, and I don't know, maybe it won't be Metroid, but a lot of people are talking because Retro's been hard at work. We haven't heard anything from them in a year and a half, and we know that they're hiring like crazy right now. So
that's normal for them. They don't say anything for 3 years.
No. And then suddenly something gets announced and it's almost done, and you're like, what?
Also,
tomorrow this is available at GameStop. What?
Yeah, I mean, look at what they did with Donkey Kong. They announced Donkey Kong and it came out like 3 months later.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Going back to your statement before about the DLC, they have to have DLC. Like, although they're not saying there's DLC, they have to, right?
Well,
you
sure.
look at a game.
Smash
How much? Oh yeah, in Smash. How much hype they had leading up to this game? How much publicity they had in everything for this whole series? You didn't see that level of publicity, hype, or machine associated with Mario Kart, and yet they had it.
Yeah.
Right. And but I would say that these characters that they're saying, we don't have DLC, they do, because those have to be balanced enough to come into the game as a DLC. So those would have had to be pre-built, understanding that will incorporate. You can't just be like, hey, here's a character, throw them into the system, because if they're not balanced properly, that can ruin the entire experience. So I think they've probably spent their time doing that. And I'm willing to bet you 6 months, we're going to see it like E3.
Yeah,
we're going to make an announcement there.
I agree. I'm actually in complete agreement, and I think one of the things that a lot of people were talking about that seems to make a lot of sense, and they've talked about being difficult because of the coding on Melee, but they do want to bring these characters back. I think first and foremost, we're probably going to get Snake back as DLC. We're probably going to get Wolf come back. Wolf seems like in fact, I will make the bet right now. I'm going to say this right now live here, come back to it in a year. I think we're going to get Wolf DLC as well as a Star Fox DLC pack for Mario Kart 8 with Fox, Slippy, and Egad with a Star Fox level. And I think all of this is going to come in like October, November, right before the release of the new Star Fox game. I'm calling it right now. I think that's going to happen because Star Fox is a franchise that they're always having a hard time selling, right? And so the easiest way to sell more copies is to put Star Fox characters in existing franchises that are already doing so well. So if you add a Star Fox pack, and on top of that, the Star Fox characters make sense in Smash Bros. I mean, in in Mario Kart.
Totally.
I mean, they're anthropomorphic.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Landmaster.
Oh, for sure, of course, or an R-wing or something.
Yeah. Something.
Well, and I would also make the argument with that. I mean, if you look at the amiibo skins that they're having with the jumper suits, right? The amiibo suits. We saw Metroid. Metroid was also one of them that was applicable that came across.
Yes.
Samus. So there's no reason why all of a sudden that can't be a cart.
Exactly. Yeah. What I'm thinking is they'll probably do like a space pack because we don't know what the other Nintendo-themed tracks are in the Animal Crossing thing outside of Animal Crossing, but we know now based on this one with Excite Bike, F-Zero, and what was the third one? The Nintendo-themed track? Hyrule, of course. How can I forget that? Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be other franchises that are going to be in that Animal Crossing one. And the one to me that seems to make the most sense in terms of another Nintendo franchise that would kind of go along with the idea of a quote-unquote Leaf Cup, to me, is Pikmin. I would be beyond shocked if we don't get a Garden of Hope stage. I think a Garden of Hope racing track seems to make a ton of sense. Tying it in with the Pikmin mini-movies, like...
Yeah, that'd be just kind of have it sort of like, have it so like everybody's kind of shrunk down and racing through like super oversized objects and
flowers and
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing is probably going to happen. But Star Fox, back to what I was saying, I feel like Star Fox and Metroid will probably be their own DLC pack, and probably within whatever because Samus might not work as a character in Mario Kart, and you already have the skin for Mii's. But like the Fox characters, totally, and they could just throw in like a Norfair stage or something and have a Metroid-themed racing stage, but not necessarily have Samus as a character.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, kind of just rounding out this discussion here, I want to just ask quickly what you guys think for games coming up that are both announced and unannounced with Amiibo integration. What are sort of your hopes and dreams of Amiibo in the future? I know we've got announcements that we're going to see the cards. They're talking about cards. They're talking about potentially smaller amiibo figures for Animal Crossing. Was kind of a passing comment that Miyamoto, I think, had. And
actually, Tom Nook is in all the advertisements, which is really bizarre. So if you go to the in-store displays for amiibos, one of the silhouetted amiibos in every single display is Tom Nook, and he's not playable in Smash Brothers. So
and then there's one that's just the Pikmin too, right? Like, So, like looking at things like Star Fox or Splatoon or these other big games that are a little bit further down the line, do you think we're going to see Amiibo integration in those? And again, the new 3DS as well is going to have Amiibo integration. We know that as well.
Yeah.
That we haven't seen. So
I think with the Amiibo integration, I love the fact that they're almost kind of doing a backwards put in for like Hyrule Warriors. I shouldn't say backwards, but right, they weren't publicizing it for Hyrule or Mario Kart. It was positioned for Smash, but they were able to do it, right? And we see the lineup. We've got Mario Party coming out. We've got Woolly World. We've got Captain Toad. We've got something else in there that uses the Amiibo. And I think that all of those titles feel like it works in that world. I don't really know, like I think especially something like a Mario Party. I could see how you could use that data and save it. And in Smash, it feels that way. I don't know how you'd see it in something like Captain Toad or Woolly World. But I really don't want it to be forced into everything. I think you need to pick and choose where it goes. I don't want to see Amiibo in Zelda, right? I don't want to see like that has to be something in there. I feel like that's such a standalone thing. It can just be itself.
Sure.
'Cause I just don't feel like it's forced in there. I'd love to see them go with Amiibo. And I heard it. I think it was on IGN's podcast. And they had a brilliant idea for it. So I wish I could say it was mine, but somebody else's. That let's say I pick up the Mega Man Amiibo, and I go home and I put them on my scanner, right, on my NFC, whether it's for my Wii U or for my 3DS, and then all of a sudden it unlocks in my Virtual Console Mega Man the game.
Oh man!
And that the coding data is actually in that, and then you register it to your account, right? So you paid $13 for a game, which is what you get in the Virtual Console, plus your Amiibo, which now can also have data wherever else it goes. Like I can also still use it to save my data.
You could basically just, I mean, like I know. Here's my just like playing the other side of this here is that I know that already there are people who are like really trying to figure out, okay, how can I buy this Amiibo and then take it home, and dang it, they put that little reflector thing on the bottom of the box, and so I can't do it through the box and then return it or whatever. I like that idea, but they'd have to make it bulletproof, and I don't know how they would do it. Maybe even if it was just you literally have to scan the figure every time in order to trigger their game, I think that would be fine too. Or when I buy it and I bring it home, and the first time it touches my gamepad, right, it says I am registering Mega Man and Mega Man's game associated with it, the original Mega Man NES game, to Nintendo ID Masson 23. Do you agree? Yes.
Yeah.
So you almost like swipe the game data out of it, embed it right to your Nintendo ID account, and now you've got that.
Yeah.
Right? And now the Amiibo becomes like, I mean, essentially Amiibo is a memory stick. Right? Now you have that as a free memory stick to do whatever you want. So now I am going to build my Mega Man Smash Brothers, and I can move them wherever I want. But you add extra value to it, and I also think you have the ability to bring people into that environment. Right? Playing some of these classics. And I think they do that well with Smash currently, right? You can play demos of the Virtual Consoles that these characters are from, but I think that's such an easy way for them to get into it. And all these characters, most of them I should say, started in the old NES or Virtual Console original formats in some context you could probably pull.
See, and one thing I think is interesting, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this. I mentioned this for a moment. I've been doing some collaboration discussions with the BitBlock. Josh Thomas, a good friend of mine, we've been doing a bunch of collabs and talking about Amiibos. And the one thing that, to me, seems like a no-brainer, and whether it's announced at E3 this year or next year, it's going to happen eventually. We're going to get an Amiibo RPG or an Amiibo like platformer game similar to Skylanders with the Amiibos. It's going to happen. When it happens, I don't know. And maybe it's not even going to happen this generation, but Amiibos, whether you like them or not, are here to stay now. This is a whole new business platform for them that they will keep for years and years and years. And whether or not it's on Wii U or on 3DS or 4DS or whatever the heck comes next, there will be that game where you use them and they're all in the same game and it's not Smash Brothers and you play as them and it's like Skylanders. It's going to happen, guaranteed. But
would be amazing.
The one thing to me that makes the most sense, and this kind of goes along with what you were saying, Justin, and that it would like be unlocking a game, is a lot of people are questioning how the Smash Brothers Amiibos, because there's some very specific ones. We've got Greninja coming, Duck Hunt Dog, presumably, even Rob. Like, I'm sure Rob might get one. Like, I don't think you could put this little guy on a platform. You need like an actual little toy. I'm sure every Smash Brothers character is going to get one. But then you think about it, when are you ever going to use an Ike from Fire Emblem Amiibo ever again, or a Shulk Amiibo?
Or Wii Fit Trainer even.
Totally. What I think they're going to do, again, another prediction, goes along with the Wolf DLC and the Star Fox DLC, and I'm making it now.
We're putting in the notes here, by the way, people.
Put it there. I will come back to this in half a year. I think this E3, we are going to get announced an Animal Crossing for Wii U, and every Smash Brothers Amiibo is going to be compatible with the Animal Crossing game, and when you put the Amiibo down on your game, it unlocks the Nintendo items. Because before, Nintendo items were always tied to DLC. they were always either DLC or they were special lottery items.
Like
and I think that
coins or whatever in the new
right,
one.
and that's not something that's required to play Animal Crossing, but that is very much something that they could have tied in with amiibos, where and any character, think about it, like you put Shulk in Animal Crossing, you put your little Shulk one on the Animal Crossing NFC or whatever, and you unlock the Monado for your house. Or you put Duck Hunt Dog, and this goes down even to like what you were talking about, Justin, with unlocking full-on games. The GameCube game had NES games on it, the old GameCube Animal Crossing. Imagine if you have Duck Hunt Dog or whoever else, these little amiibos with these NES characters, you put them in the game, and maybe the item they unlock isn't like a Master Sword. Maybe it's actually the old NES Legend of Zelda, but you can only play the game if you have Animal Crossing for Wii U. Yeah. And I could see that happening as well, because that would be sort of another sort of bulletproof way to do it, because that would already be tied in with your account.
They're already getting your money at that point, because you're buying Animal Crossing and you're buying Amiibo, and so
so throwing in an emulated ROM doesn't cost anything to them.
Exactly.
Well, you got to think the emulated ROM. You go back to this idea before is like it can be like a gateway drug for everything else, right?
Sure.
Like here's your first one for free. By the way, did you know there's like 5 more of these in a series?
Exactly.
You should buy them.
And I'm sure every Mario game, every major Mario game, every major Zelda game is if they have Amiibo support, will probably from here on out get specified Link or Mario character figures for that game. Like I'm sure we have these, but the thing is, I feel like almost all of the Marios or whatever they're going to be will be compatible backwards with all the other games that already had Mario figures. And even if you look at the Link Amiibo that works with Hyrule Warriors to unlock the spinner, the variation of Link, Toon Link, also unlocks the spinner in Hyrule Warriors. So if they announced that previously. So if you purchase Toon Link, you're going to get the same content. You're going to get the same thing. And that way, people who are early adopters aren't going to get burned, but people who want to pick up an Amiibo but don't necessarily want the Smash Brothers version of it with the weird like yellow pole that's sticking out of his head, then they'll be able to get their own new Amiibo. So that might be kind of cool.
So I think you can just imagine the sort of like the sort of like file structure or whatever. You've got like a little thing that says, okay, this is a Mario figure, this is a Mario series, as well, and so you can unlock them by series, you can unlock them by the character that they are.
Right. And actually, just recently they announced, I think this is in the NeoGAF thread a couple days ago, that now Amiibo figures are officially licensed to third parties as well. So in addition to us getting Sonic and Mega Man and Pac-Man for Super Smash Brothers, we will also potentially be getting Amiibos for other games down the line. And the one thing they're talking about in Japan that's already like huge is the Hatsune Miku line, which is the the Vocaloid singer girl. Okay. So one of the very early like rumors that's going around right now is that Sega will be making Hatsune Miku amiibos to use to unlock like Nintendo songs in the new Hatsune Miku game or in the karaoke game. Which that's going to go crazy. For every otaku in Japan is going to want to buy their little Hatsune Miku amiibo. And what's to stop Sega from doing this for the next Sonic game? Or even if you look at like, I'm sure this isn't announced, but like it's going to happen. Next year we're going to get Sonic and Mario at Rio de Janeiro Olympics. Like we're going to get that. That happens every year before the Olympics. So next year we're going to get that game, guaranteed. Next year, I'm sure, love it or hate it, you're going to get that game. And I'm sure there will be amiibos tied with that game where there'll be like Olympic skiing Mario or like Sonic on a snowboard, and those amiibos will be released, and I'm sure they'll have the same compatibility that the ones who are characters in Smash Brothers will have. But who's to say that those can't then work in future games and unlock other things? And I mean, third parties have free reign at this point.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
The sky's the limit for them, and the way they're rolling them out right now too, right? We've already had now how many 20 announcements or 20?
I think we're on phase 3 already.
Yeah, we're on phase 3, right? Like they're rolling them out almost monthly.
Yeah.
Like God forbid if my girls were like, hey, yeah, I'd like an amiibo every single wave or two, right? Like, well, here's my credit card. Thanks very much, Nintendo. Just
here's $8 every month or $12 every month. You get an amiibo every month. Yeah.
Exactly. Figure what you want, right? And
the amiibo of the Mods Club.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And
now talk about a subscription. I would subscribe to that. I'm not going to subscribe to that garbage Loot Crate deal, but I would totally subscribe to like surprise amiibo of the month if it's like some exclusive amiibo that you only get via some. Nintendo, are you listening to this? Listen to me, Nintendo. I will pay money for a subscription of amiibo.
Well, yeah, and they're I mean, and all the, to your point, Zach, right? Your addiction's already 5 in, right? Like,
Oh, dude, I have a problem.
God.
It's like, oh, hey, it's like $13. That's no big deal. It's like, oh, wait, now I've spent like, oh, okay.
you're just shy of $100
I need to-
or $60 or whatever. So, right?
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, I think it'll be so interesting to see what they're gonna do.
Agreed.
Yeah, totally. And I think too, just one more thing that I'd love to see them do. Maybe, I mean, like, imagine like Club Nintendo Platinum members next year. All right, you download this app on your Wii U, sign in, and you now have an amiibo of your Mii. And it's just like,
Oh my gosh. Okay, that like.
right? Like
Oh.
it's like, okay, just choose whether you want to have like a brawler, a sword fighter, or a gunner. You know,
my
put your
gosh.
costume from the game, and you get your custom-made amiibo. Because it's interesting. I think at E3, Miyamoto even said, "Oh yeah, I've got one of my Mii already. It's a
He did?
prototype." And it's just like, yeah, he said. I'm pretty sure that he said that.
Yeah, he asked. I
Oh
think
my
it was
gosh.
Brian Altano says he's like, yeah, I'll pay $50 right now for that.
Totally,
Yeah.
I would too.
Oh, easily.
I want to see the Reggie Mii.
Totally.
It's like 5 feet taller than all the other Miis.
I would love it if they had some, like, kind of like how the Muppet Workshop has it, where you could go to like FAOSchwartz.com and make your own Muppet and you download them. If they had that for Mii's, and I could have like a Tom Selleck Mii or a Jesus Mii, like I like that my mind went to Jesus and Tom Selleck, but like whatever. That's fine.
Both on the exact same plane.
No, that is Jesus, J-I-I.
But, that's actually probably good segue into some of the stuff that we're seeing in the notes already. Was we have seen some variants where people are actually starting to modify their amiibos currently and change and altering them. Right? We saw one. Zach, you posted on Instagram of a Kirby one where someone had then created a Samus mask over top of it. And I've seen a couple. I've seen a couple, especially for the Link ones, where they've actually just gone through and just recolored them.
Oh,
right?
for the tunics.
Yeah, for the tunics, they've changed them so it's more of like what they wanted. So
yeah, I saw like a light suit Samus too.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So those are really
I'm sure
cool.
there's gonna be a market for that.
Yeah, I love those. Those are really cool. I think that we're gonna see a ton of those Kirby ones just because it's such a simple thing to just add to it. It's just like such simple design changes. But I saw one where somebody had given the villager an axe too. So
Psycho Villager.
Really cool. Yeah, it'd be really cool. I definitely love that. I've always wanted to be able to like be talented and that's a weird. Let me finish.
Just out there, just be talented.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be talented. To have some sort of like ability for sculpting and stuff like that. But
sure.
I have huge respect for those guys who do that because I've attempted to do stuff like that before and it always turns out terribly. So.
Did the logo on my lower third change?
No, it's still a VG.
Let me see.
I think you have to turn it off.
I still see VG Tribune.
Oh,
now it did. Now it's your me.
Yep, that's what I wanted.
Awesome.
Nice.
Nice.
Very
I love
cool.
It. Very cool indeed.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm excited for what's coming. There's so many cool things, and definitely loving that custom stuff too. Looking finally here, just very quickly, do you want to talk about this 13 reasons to buy a Wii U, or do we want to talk about the DS being 10 years old?
I think the DS being 10 years old is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I found this little bit of an article as I was going through, and it's funny actually. I also kind of figured out like how many system launches Nintendo does in November, right? Like the Wii just turned 7, the 64 turned like I don't know, it was 20 or something or 15. Like they do so much of it in November, but it gave a good reflection. I think it made me think about where when we talk about the DS and the original clamshell, that massive DS that came out, right? How it really didn't have the traction. Right, people kind of looked at it funny and was like, "That's an odd thing," and didn't really until I started making some modifications and made them into the DS Lite that we saw this mass consumability of it, and really it hit its stride. Right, like DS is still outselling every other system that's out there currently, like month by month, and it's created a brand unto itself. But it was a slow burn to start off with. right? And 10 years later, they're still running with that. It makes me think of, like, we have just, the Wii U has just hit its second birthday, and it's just now starting to find its legs and starting to pick up that steam. Whereas the Wii, when it was released, kind of came out of the gate swinging hard.
Yeah.
Right? People jumped onto it real fast. Mom and Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, everyone's playing a little bit of tennis, and everybody's loving it. Right? But I'm almost wondering if we're seeing the Wii U kind of take the path of the original, of the DS, and have a slow burn, and it's starting to find its legs. And I don't know. I have a DS Lite. I think for most people here have a 3DS, but it's just such an easy system to hold and to manage and to play with. Yeah, you're popping up yours. I love it. Yeah. And there's variations of it, obviously, right? We have the 3DS with DSi. That it's such a consumable, easy handheld that you see it out in the mass market, right? You're at McDonald's waiting with your kids to get food, and some kids, so your kid or a teenager or early 20s, 30s, 40s is sitting there playing their DS, whether it was Sudoku or the latest Smash, whatever. It seems like such an acceptable device to be playing as a handheld game in the mass kind of culture.
Oh, totally. I mean, I could say this as someone who commuted for a whole year downtown and taking the L from my apartment to go downtown in Chicago. I mean, I would constantly see people with their 3DSs. I would have my 3DS in my bag all the time. I'd go to bi-monthly meetups at Street Pass Chicago to meet up with other people who were street passing, and it became its own sort of like social club within the mainstream world. And yeah, like if I had been a 24-year-old on the train playing a Game Boy 20 years ago, it would have been a little weird. But now, I mean, I've met girls through playing 3DS on a train and then being like, what are you playing? And I'm like, Animal Crossing. And then I show them my house in Animal Crossing, and they think it's the coolest thing, and then they want to see my actual house. And then it's like, cha-ching, great. So,
man, I wish I knew those moves 20 years ago.
But I'm saying that's the kind of, like, 3DS, really, it's a super social device inherently because of Street Pass. And Street Pass has brought out, I think, the best within the gaming community in a way that no other system has really succeeded in doing that, is where now you will meet people, and even if they're people that you've never met before, I mean, sometimes, I've lived in LA for 4 months now, and I live right by a mall. So a lot of the time, if I'm hungry, I'll go to the food court at the mall. And what happens, I always take my 3DS with me in my bag, if I have my bag with me. I've street passed the same people 4 or 5 times, whether they're mall employees, whether they're people who are in the food court, whatever. I've street passed the same people, and I don't know those people in real life, but I know their Mii's. And if I see their Mii's on my system, I'm going to be like, oh, that's like Chillin'. He's eating his hot dog in the food court, and I know him, But I don't know him personally, and I think that's a cool thing that Nintendo's doing, implementing that. And I'm excited to see where that's going to go. Maybe not necessarily with Wii U, because I feel like they would have already implemented a lot of that stuff already, but for whatever the next platform is. Because at this point, I mean, PS4 is selling gangbusters. For whatever reason, people are loving PS4. They're buying the system with no real game on it, but just having it because it's a better deal than Xbox One and they want a next-gen system. So they're constantly buying these systems. And I feel like I agree with you on the fact that Wii U is now hitting its stride, and I feel like it's going to last longer than people expected it to. Like, I feel like it's already shut down the critics who have been saying it's going to be a Dreamcast, because it already outlived Dreamcast now at this point. At the 2-year birthday, it's already outlived it. So the question is then, how long is that going to continue? Or better yet, since we are on the topic of DS, how much longer will the 3DS be able to sustain itself before we need to get that next platform? Because whatever the next platform is, it can't be a separate handheld or a separate console. It just can't. We know this based on how Nintendo's been running things now, compatibility between systems. It's going to have to be some sort of console handheld hybrid, right?
And I've been saying the same thing for years.
I know. I'm in complete agreement with you, and I think a lot of people have. But the big thing that this brings up then is how much longer, because like you said, we're 10th birthday of the DS now. How much longer can the DS sustain itself before evolving into whatever the next console is going to be, and then having that paired system? Because we know it's going to happen, it's inevitable, but it's a matter of when at this point. Yeah. And 3DS is now kind of showing its age, and they could still do things. They have Majora's Mask 3D is coming out. We know there's going to be at least one more generation of Pokemon, guaranteed, because DS had to, and 3DS is doing well. So we're going to get at least generation, what is it, 7 or 6? It's gonna. I think it's 7.
7.
Yeah, 7 is going to happen, and we're going to also have the sequel games to X and Y, I'm sure, too, because they've done that. So right there, that's a guaranteed 2 more years for the system. And we still have yet to get a full-on Metroid game for 3DS. We've still have yet to get a lot of franchises that have not even touched the handheld yet, or that presumably won't, and we just aren't going to have to wait till the next system for it. So it's interesting to see how much longer the DS is going to survive as it is now, and if it can actually, like I said, sustain itself and not necessarily show its age. Because let's face it, the Vita isn't really competition at this point. Like, it's steamrolling it. So, and there's no other handheld that's coming to the market in this day and age that's a dedicated handheld. You're not going to see a new N-Gage anytime soon. And even if Apple wanted to do it, it would be a console. So I feel like we're in a strange time right now.
Apple TV 4.
I think like 5 years from now we see, 5 years from now we see this sort of. It was interesting. I think it was maybe like a year ago, or maybe a little over than that. We saw these sort of rumors of this weird like Nintendo Fusion, where it was, it was like a handheld and a console in one, and I really sort of like. Well, I think the actual rumors were pretty bunk. The concept and the idea was pretty good. Like, it was going in the right direction where you kind of have both, and you can imagine a sort of situation where the next console you have essentially, where the biggest complaint about the Wii U has been that the tablet is not portable, right? It's portable, but it's not portable, and I think that having that sort of ability to take the tablet, which I think could definitely use a sort of revision, like similar to what happened, the DS Fat to the DS Lite. I think the gamepad, if the gamepad were to go through the same sort of transition, and then also become its own portable in the process, I think that would be amazing. I think that's a really great sort of direction for them to go, for sure. But I think as well, just going back to the DS, it's amazing at how much they changed, essentially. How much that changed the scenery and the sort of the landscape of gaming in general. So yeah. Oh, it looks like we lost Justin.
Oh, what happened?
Come back. I'm in.
Oh, there he is. He's coming back in. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. Weird.
But yeah, I mean, it is. It's strange. I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's a matter of wait and see at this point. How the next systems are going to look, or what games are going to be released for them. But I think what's going to be interesting, right, is people always complain about third parties on home consoles for Nintendo, that there aren't enough third party, games. There just aren't. But now, Justin's back. Awesome.
Sorry, guys.
So the one thing that I think is interesting is by cutting out the console platform and making it a fusion, where you have the handheld, third parties are never going to leave handheld Nintendo because they make money on handhelds. They just do. And you're naturally, if they use that platform to sort of coincide with some other kind of like set-top box, you're going to inherently have better third-party support right off the bat. Guaranteed. People won't be concerned about making weird games of the tablet. They'll be concerned about making the game for that handheld system and then having like it optimized for an HD setting, like on your home console or whatever, So you'll be playing full console games on whatever your handheld's going to be. You'll have that third-party support, and then they'll immediately won't have the criticism that they've been having for the past couple generations now, which is that companies just don't want to make games for the Nintendo platforms because they feel like they can't make money. But they know they can make money on third parties know they can make money on the handhelds, so they're never going to leave that, So they immediately fix that problem, which has been almost unfixable since the GameCube era.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, right on, man. Anybody else have any other thoughts on that? We're approaching the 2-hour mark. It's funny, we always have said, again, this is beta, but when we first started out, we were like, yeah, we're going to have like 45, an hour-long episodes, and like, other than like one episode, it's like hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know about these. This is just kind of funny in general, but just the sort of, it's always fun finding that sweet spot for sure. But I think that this is always, again, A, totally this is beta, and also B, I hate to cut good discussion short. So Absolutely.
We're having fun, so sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
No stopping
Yeah,
this
solid 2 hours of content for sure.
Totally.
Absolutely. Good conversation for sure.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I think we're anything else here looking over the rest. Again, I think we're going to skip the new to you. I love the idea of this segment of highlighting some like old game or something like that. But maybe not during such a loaded episode. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for next episode, folks. And we'll
It
figure
also
out.
gives us the opportunity for some of us to stop playing Smash and go find something new.
Yeah.
But absolutely. Well, thanks everybody. Here, let me find our outro music that Justin found for us. Let's see if we can-
Big thanks to Roger for jumping on today. I know a little bit of last minute, and your insight was just fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being on here. It's fun. Have me on again anytime. I'd be happy to
Yeah,
join you guys.
absolutely.
Awesome.
So long as I'm available.
Awesome. Right on. Well, again, everyone, thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at Nintendo Dads, as well as you can find us on Facebook. Go and like us over there. You can follow and find out all the cool stuff we're doing. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Zach Erickson. That's ZACERICKSON. Everybody else you want to just give yours, Justin.
Sure, it's at Masson23, MASSON23.
Jesse.
Yeah. At Laffer2, LLAFFER number 2.
And Roger.
That's at RogersBase, RogersBase.
And everybody go over there to YouTube and follow and subscribe to him over there too. He's
That's right.
got lots of awesome stuff going on. And of course, check out the Japan Time podcast
Woo!
for everybody who's with Smash.
Okay.
All sorts of insanity. I have no idea how you manage that many people on that show, man. Like you've got what, like 8 people on that show at once?
I mean, admittedly, sometimes it gets very hectic to listen to. If you're not a fan of the show, like, to be honest, I don't know how you listen in sometimes, because, like, it gets crazy. But I mean,
it's mad.
the Smash community, we're lucky and extremely fortunate that they have welcomed us with open arms, and that it became just as successful as it has been. And I think that's been due to the guests that we've had on. I mean, we've had Mewtwo King on the show before, D1, Prague, some really big commentators, people within the scene. And so we've just been really, really fortunate, and I love doing the show. It's a blast. So, and it gives some good content for VG Tribune too. So
Yeah, right on. And go check out VGTribune.com. We're launched officially now with the new redesign.
it's beautiful.
And we're going to be posting the show up there pretty soon as well. Probably this episode, as long as my recording didn't screw up. Then we will probably post this episode over there, so you can listen to the audio as well. So check it out. And until next time, everybody, go play some games and have fun. See you later.
You guys.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Sweet.
Cool.
I'm going to stop this.
Yeah,
Cool.